have done this and the way that we have done it is because we knew the only way to get every last blood dollar was to force them to spend it. And so like the $2.3 trillion, they held that in reserve. That was just a slush fund being held somewhere, waiting to be deployed for an emergency situation, which they now find themselves in. So we are continuing to drain this system. Do you see how long this takes? Do you see how long it takes to get every dollar in circulation, every blood currency that's ever been generated around the world, accounted for, paid for, brought out of the hidey holes and into the light so that we can have an honest transition to a new reality? That's why this takes so long. This is such an enormous, multidimensional, multi-angular process with all of society. I know that people get frustrated about that. I get frustrated about that also. Jeff Sessions and John Huber are doing God's work. They are seeing through these indictments and the civilian record in the background so that we can have an honest accounting. We're letting the military do the heavy lifting to handle the emergency before it becomes uncontainable, right? To save humanity. But we still have to establish a civilian chain of custody, if you will, a civilian record that we can pass forward to generations on how we conducted this. I have a sneaky suspicion that a great deal of the taped confessions that we've been promised will have been conducted at the behest of special counsels Sessions and Huber. I think we're going to see a lot of movement on those indictments, and I think you're going to see every name that you've ever thought to be a household name for the last 400 years is going to be on those indictments. We're talking about tracing lineages and crime back generations. We are leaving no stone unturned. We are going to get every last one of them and ensure that nothing like this can ever occur again. Donald Trump is a commander-in-chief that is doing everything by the law. He's doing everything by military law. Military law is the period of time that we're living in. You know, imagine going back 500 years, essentially. This is a period of time where the Constitution of the United States has been placed on pause. It's been placed on pause strategically, very carefully, with a greater goal in mind. It's been pre-lifted in certain areas to allow the military to conduct these sorts of operations, seek and destroy, target identification, etc. All of that has to be represented appropriately by the commander-in-chief, even though the generals are the ones carrying out the orders directly. The commander-in-chief acts right now as the public relations arm for the largest military operation the U.S. military has ever conducted. There's things that he just can't say, folks. I know that that's difficult sometimes. I know that that's tough to swallow. And I know that we'd love to think that Donald Trump would never lie to us, but Donald Trump gives us calculated misdirections all of the time. He's hoping that American patriots are paying close enough attention to understand the need for those types of things in time of war. You can't telegraph your plans. Anything that we say on this call, you can be assured that the deep state is also watching. There are certain things that I simply won't allude to and won't say. This is a gigantic military operation that is being handled by an enormous group of individuals, and Donald Trump is acting as the civilian go-ahead on behalf of the American people. Understand that he has to do the things that he has to do because he is the commander-in-chief and because he is bound by military law, that if he did not do them, he becomes complicit in the operation, and the Donald Trump we all love so much must necessarily go down. Nobody wants that to happen, so he has to be very careful and measured in what he does. Executive Order 13818. For those out there who are wondering about the character of Donald Trump as the commander-in-chief and the current president, if you will, in the background, this executive order made trafficking and pedophilia and crimes against humanity and children an automatic capital offense punishable only by death. It also gave way to seize essentially everything that these individuals, if they were connected to these sorts of crimes, especially interstate and foreign crimes, this level of depravity, if you could be connected to it in any way, every single thing that you own, including your fingernails, is ours. That particular order was targeted at the Illuminati. That order was targeted at the Epsteins, the Ghislaines, the Huma Abedins. That order was targeted at the Abramoviches, the Rothschilds. That was a direct, we are coming for you at your throat. Understand then that that order literally dealt with nothing else but human child trafficking, crimes against children, crimes against humanity. That's the type of individual that we're dealing with the commander-in-chief. I understand that, the COVID kill shots is a big thorn in the side of a lot of great patriots out there. We've all been affected by them now at this point. I've lost 2 myself, 3 if I count an acquaintance of mine. But that is a part of this military operation to save humanity. And there are unfortunate casualties of war that we have to allow in certain conditions. I wish that I had a better explanation for that. But Donald Trump is a man who wants to save humanity. He took multiple steps in his presidency to do exactly that. One of the first executive orders he signed, February 4th, 2017, began a process for the United States Treasury to return the dollar to an asset-backed currency. He wasted no time getting that ball rolling. This was a coordinated military operation. It's my understanding that Donald Trump was implored by generals, one of 3 individuals that was interviewed secretly by generals, as a possible candidate to oversee the bankruptcy of the United States corporation government. It's my understanding that Donald Trump accepted the mantle, if you will, and that we have lived a coordinated military coup for the last 6 years, and we are continuing to live it up through the end of this year. We are already experiencing portions of NESARA in areas localized around the United States and in larger areas around the world. BRICS is a good example of NESARA. BRICS is the first step in shifting the world to an all-level playing field. Donald Trump gave a speech alongside Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2000, I believe it was 18, where he stated that soon, in relation to world currencies and the manipulated currency markets, soon we would all be on a level playing field. This era began shortly after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It really, truly began with John F. Kennedy's Executive Order 11110, which ordered the Treasury to begin the process of returning the United States dollar to a silver-backed currency. At certain levels, this deep state is completely stupid. At other levels, they are startlingly clever. They can be surprisingly clever at times. Many of them saw something along the lines of what we're living right now coming, and so they went after areas such as resource mines, raw material.